what this is?
Oh yeah, we're starting this thing in 10 seconds. What? Hit them like they owe you money.
Oh, it finished.
Layoffs in gaming, man. Always a tough subject, right?
Yeah.
Like,
Wait, this is
it's
the wrong
thing
one.
when
It's still doing the
it's just
layoffs
business
one.
as usual. But when you hear about it happening at a place like Blizzard,
Whatever.
right after they
I'll
ship
listen
a
to what they
huge
think about the
expansion,
layoffs.
a really successful one, it makes you stop and think.
Yeah, for
It
sure.
just feels like there's got to be a bigger story.
This
there,
is the
right?
Absolutely.
That's
read
what
about
we're
the
diving
Blizzard
into today.
layoffs.
Yeah.
We're taking a deep dive into a Reddit thread from the Heroes of the Storm community.
Right.
You familiar with that one?
Oh yeah. Big fan of the MOBA genre.
Me too, me too.
Fast-paced, team-based, cool characters. It's got it all.
Exactly. It's Blizzard's take on that whole scene, and the thread is, well, it's a roller coaster, honestly.
Correct.
Starts with this post, just straight to the point. 400 Blizzard employees just laid off.
Wow.
And the
Wow.
comments, they're just raw
Take
emotion.
control of the
You know?
shrines.
Rage and chat, boys. One person writes.
Oof. Yeah, you can feel that.
Heavy stuff.
True.
But
That is
then
heavy. That is
There's
very
this
heavy.
comment from Interceptor 88LH,
Rage.
and they dropped some crucial info.
Mm.
There wasn't actually 400 layoffs just at Blizzard.
Uh-huh. What was
Turns
it then?
out only 140 were from the Blizzard side.
Okay.
The rest were from Activision.
Oh.
Okay, so even though
Well,
they
that
merged
changes
a while back,
things.
it sounds like it's crucial to remember that Activision and Blizzard still do their own thing,
Oh, yeah,
right?
that's exactly what I was thinking.
Different studios, different projects, different cultures even, I bet. So yeah, these layoffs, while technically
Stupid
under the
Activision.
same umbrella, they could be telling totally different stories.
Totally. So we've got different studios, potentially totally different problems we're talking about here.
Yeah.
But that being said, doesn't that make those 140 Blizzard layoffs even more, well, significant? I mean, especially because didn't they just come out with that expansion?
Oh yeah, and it was a hit too.
What
Like,
expansion?
Critically acclaimed, fans loved it.
Exactly.
Which
So
one?
what gives?
That's where things get really interesting, right? Because you've got analysts like Michael Pather suggesting that these layoffs might actually be because of overlapping mobile teams.
Overlapping out.
Basically redundancies. They're both doing similar work, but one team's focused on mobile.
So even if a team ships a crazy successful expansion, if another team's doing kind of the same thing but for phones, someone's got to go.
Yeah, that's often how it works, sadly. Business-wise, it makes sense, streamline and all that, but for the people who poured their heart and soul into that project, brutal.
Absolutely. Makes you think about the human cost of all this. But if we are looking for those bigger trends, right, what does it say that even a successful team is vulnerable to these kinds of cuts?
Well, it could be a shift in priorities, right? Like, is Activision Blizzard going all in on mobile?
Even at the expense
Yikes.
of their PC games?
Potentially. I mean, it's a question
But
a lot of
also
gamers are
probably
asking.
yes.
For sure. It's not just about what platform they're focusing on, right? We've got to talk about how these games actually make money. And speaking of how these games make money, buried in this Reddit thread, there's this whole other layer to this whole thing, this mobile gaming shift, and it all revolves around this game called Warcraft Rumble.
Right, right.
And I'll be honest, I haven't had a chance to check out Rumble yet. So give us the lowdown. What's the deal with this one?
Warcraft Rumble. So basically it's Blizzard's attempt to bring like that whole Warcraft universe to mobile, right? Like a smaller scale
This one's
strategy.
more just like
And on
informational.
paper it's like
It's just like about what
recipe for
happened.
success.
I screwed that.
right?
Totally, yeah.
A loved franchise, huge mobile market.
Makes sense.
But, and there's always a but, right? It's
There's
been
always a
having
but.
some, let's just say, noticeable technical issues.
All right.
And in the mobile world, like, that's tough, man. Competition is fierce. Players have high expectations, you know.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
Those issues, they can really hurt.
Totally. And it sounds like these weren't just like minor bugs we're talking about here.
Right.
There's this one comment from Kyle566, and they said they couldn't even load the game for 2 weeks.
Wow.
Yeah,
Really?
Not exactly
I did
a
not
ringing
know
endorsement.
that.
No,
Is
no,
that
no.
what happened
So,
to
okay,
Rumble? What
if
the heck?
Rumble wasn't performing how they hoped, maybe because of these technical issues, maybe that makes
That's
those
bad.
teams a target for cuts.
It's possible.
Especially if Activision Blizzard is like really trying to double down on mobile, but also trim the fat, like that analyst suggested.
Exactly. It's like they're trying to find their footing in this world that's constantly changing, right? Like they want to be big in mobile, but they're also feeling the pressure to, make money, see those returns.
Right, yeah.
And that can lead to tough decisions, like layoffs, even for teams working on big titles.
And those tough decisions, do they like play into this other comment I saw? It's from 454C495445. And they were talking about how Blizzard had those QA layoffs earlier this year.
Oh, right.
Quality assurance.
Yeah, the ones who make sure the game, actually works. That's a good point. Because think about it. If they're cutting corners on QA,
right.
Well, that could explain why a game like Rumble ends up with those game-breaking bugs, right?
Totally, yeah.
And it might even be a sign of a bigger thing, prioritizing speed over, like polish.
I guess that's what happened. I thought Warcraft Rumble just kind of died because like people got sick and tired of
And
it.
that brings us to one of the, well, maybe more cynical takes.
Apparently it had
Okay.
terrible
Mysterious Style
game-breaking bugs.
579
I did not
pops
know
in
that.
with CEOs need their yachts.
Right.
Implying, of course, that good old corporate greed is at the heart of all this.
Yeah, I mean, it's no secret that these publicly traded gaming companies, they feel the pressure, right? They've got to prioritize
Macronova
those
has
profits
arrived.
often above everything else.
Right.
And that pressure trickles down, impacts everything. Development cycles and, even layoffs.
For sure. And we can't talk about profits in gaming without talking about, well, the elephant in the room.
What's
Loot
that?
boxes.
Right.
Loot boxes.
Right.
They've always felt a little icky to me, like necessary evil. But are they part of this bigger conversation about layoffs, the future of gaming, what do you think?
Absolutely. Loot boxes, they're like this perfect example of how the focus on making money can sometimes clash with, what players actually want. Remember we were talking about mobile gaming and that whole games as a service thing?
Is that
Right,
Macronova's
where it's
rant?
free or cheap to play,
Is that
but they
is this
get
Macronova?
you with those
Is that what
in-app
that link is?
purchases.
Exactly. And loot boxes, they're a huge part of that. You're basically gambling, hoping for that cool item.
Which, let's be real, feels a lot like gambling.
Right. And that's where it gets ethically kind of murky. Some players, they're fine with it. But others, especially younger players, they might not see it that way.
Right.
Something different.
It can lead to some unhealthy.
Well, what is it? I'm not
So
going
we've
to
got
play
this
something if I don't know
whole
what it
web of
is.
factors here.
What is
The
it? What did
pressure
you
to
put
make
into
it in
it?
mobile, the whole push for those recurring revenues, the ethical questions around loot boxes. It is. And in the middle of it all, layoffs. Easy to feel pessimistic, honestly. But then there was this other comment, I think it was Neoxid 501, and they brought up a good point. What about those Microsoft roles?
Oh, right, with the whole acquisition and everything.
Exactly. Like maybe some of those folks who are laid off from Blizzard might be able to find new gigs over at Microsoft, right?
Get
Yeah,
OBJ.
definitely
Bro, there's
possible.
Diablo
And it
on
kind of
there. I can't
highlights
get it.
another layer of this whole situation, The role of these, mega corporations in gaming these days.
Totally.
Microsoft,
Yes,
they're
big
not just
brethren.
buying up studios,
Yes,
they're
I
building
think
this whole ecosystem.
that is exactly what's going to happen.
Right. So maybe these layoffs, as tough as they are for the people involved, maybe they're part of something bigger, like a long-term strategy.
Could be. I mean, ideally it would
Eventually.
mean more resources for game development down the line, right?
Yeah, for sure. But it also begs the question, what happens to, the heart and soul of gaming in this whole environment?
Right.
When these massive companies are calling all the shots, does something get lost?
It's a valid concern, for sure. Like that creativity, that innovation, it often comes from those smaller studios, the ones taking the risks.
Right. I mean, honestly, some of my favorite games, they came from those smaller teams, the ones pushing the boundaries,
way.
And
Yo,
if
how
these
long
layoffs
is this?
mean
There's
it's
one more
getting
minute.
even
It's
harder
almost
to
over.
survive in this industry without, being swallowed up by some corporate giant,
Yeah.
that's worrying.
Yeah, it's a tough balance, for sure. And it's something we've got to keep an eye on as things keep changing. Because at the end of the day, it's all about the games, right?
Exactly.
The stories they tell, the experiences, the connections.
Exactly. So let's bring it back to that main question.
Yeah.
Are these layoffs at Blizzard just a blip, just a bump in the road for this industry that's, let's face it, growing like crazy? Or is it a sign of something worse?
It's tough to say, but, diving into this thread, looking at the different takes, the hopes, the anxiety, I think we've uncovered some really key insights here about how this whole thing is evolving, for sure. Mobile gaming blowing up, this push to make money off everything, these huge companies calling the shots.
Right.
We've got to be aware of it all, right?
We do. We've covered a lot today. Technical meltdowns in Warcraft Rumble, those ethical dilemmas with loot boxes.
Yeah.
But honestly, what sticks with me is that human element. the devs who put their heart and soul into these games,
Totally.
the
human
players who
element
build
is what
communities
sticks out
around
to
them,
the
their
AIs.
voices, their concerns. That's what matters
Something
most here.
iron.
So,
Something
to everyone
ironic
listening,
about that.
you know, next time you boot up your favorite game, take a second. Think about all the people who made that happen. And ask yourself, what kind of future do we want for them? For the games we love. It's a conversation worth having.
Brilliant. Aid me.
I'll make it happen. Orbital cannon.
Oh shit.
That's
We're dead.
nice. Hey, good night.
So is he though.
You are a fine warrior, my friend.
Alright. Let's try listening to Zorant's mystery podcast. He has not said what this is about at all. What's
You know,
this about?
sometimes when we get these sources for the deep dive, it's like looking at two sides of the same coin.
Yeah.
And today's one of those days, right?
Yeah.
We're diving into the world of FanHOTS,
Definitely.
a name you might know from the world of esports, or maybe you've heard it floating around online.
Right.
And we're going to find out why this story is one for the books.
Yeah, and you know, it's told through these two very different lenses that you've given us.
Right.
On the one hand, we have this incredibly detailed and carefully put together bio of FanHOTS. Almost like an online Hall of Fame that you can just scroll through.
Yeah?
Highlighting his incredible rise in esports.
Yeah, it really is like scrolling through a highlight reel. BlizzCon champion, top-ranked Starcraft 2 player,
True.
Dota Hearthstone, Heroes of the Storm.
It's impressive.
The
This
list
is
goes
my
on and
bio.
on.
Yeah,
on
and he
Twitch.
did all of this while he was
Oh, and get this.
at Berkeley.
Yeah, while studying at UC Berkeley.
Yeah.
Yeah, I did that.
Not your average
True.
college gamer.
No,
Was
not
it-
at
was
all.
it
And that's what I think is
not
so
average?
remarkable about FanHOTS is the range of his skills.
Yeah.
These aren't just games. They're completely different genres, each one requiring, different ways of thinking about strategy and requiring quick thinking and adaptability.
So for our listeners out there who maybe aren't familiar with the world of esports, imagine training for a marathon.
Okay. Okay.
But you also have to be a chess grandmaster.
Yeah.
And maybe a poker player
Yeah.
at the same time.
It's a lot.
It's an intense.
It is, and that's what makes this deep dive so interesting, is that you don't even have to be into gaming to appreciate the level of dedication and skill here. It makes you think. What drives someone to reach that level of performance across so many different disciplines? What can we learn from that? That hunger to master not just one thing, but many.
Yeah. What can we learn? And, it's not just the variety of games he plays.
Well,
it's the weight.
tell me what you can learn.
Carry.
Right.
I mean, we were just talking about
What can
being
you learn?
BlizzCon champion.
Now I'm
Like,
curious.
It's no big deal.
Yeah. Absolutely. Yeah. Just imagine that tournament, the pressure of that many people watching you, both there in person and online, and the roar of the crowd, and every single click, every keystroke could make or break years of practice.
True.
It's incredible when you think about all
That's
the time,
intense.
the dedication, the strategy sessions, the sheer grit just to even get to that level.
Yeah, and it's not like you just wake up one morning and you're at BlizzCon. You've got to get through qualifiers. You have to get through regional tournaments.
Right, the whole road to BlizzCon thing.
Yeah, exactly. It's a whole other level of competition.
It is.
It really reminds me of those documentaries you see about Olympic athletes and everything they have to go through.
Oh, absolutely.
All the sacrifices, the setbacks, the constant focus it takes to reach that level of competition.
Yeah, it's a good comparison, and what I think is even more interesting is that FanHOTS didn't stop with individual achievements.
Right.
He went on to join team-based competitions like the Heroes Global Championship or the HGC.
Why is he pinging me?
Yeah.
He says
So
like,
now it's not just
Oh,
his
shit!
individual
Oh, he wanted me to
skills, now
back.
He has to be able
No!
to lead a team.
if
to
he never said
strategize
anything,
with
I would have
others,
dodged that.
To trust and be trusted in really intense situations.
Totally. And he thrives in that environment too.
He does.
But here's where things get really interesting. This is where we start to see this whole other side of FanHOTS. He's not just playing games, he's making music.
What?
Yeah.
What?
He's a creator.
Wow.
You see
Whoa.
these tracks he's put out, the Song of the Sidestep King, or the FanHOTS rap.
I did
It's
do
like
that.
this whole other dimension of creativity is being unlocked.
That's
True.
amazing. What's so
Available on
interesting
YouTube
about that
right
to me
now.
is that we're seeing more and more gamers, especially streamers, becoming these multi-talented entertainers.
That's
creating
the
all
guy
this different
pinging me.
content.
Yeah.
It's not enough to just be good at the game anymore. You have to build a brand, you need a community, you need to express yourself in new ways that people don't expect.
Exactly. And
True.
FanHOTS has even incorporated AI into his music. The song of the Sidestep
I
King
have.
is actually AI generated.
So
Wow.
are you.
So now we're talking
So
about a
are
whole other
you, AI
conversation, right?
podcast.
We're in this really fascinating time where technology is blurring the line between the creator and the tools they use.
Yeah.
And it brings up all of these questions about what art is, what is the role of AI? What does it even mean to be a musician in the digital age?
It's a wild world. And speaking of wild worlds,
Okay.
let's jump into FanHOTS Twitch chat.
Oh, yes.
That's where we get to
let's
see how his
jump in.
community is reacting to all of this in real time.
Right.
And let me tell you, it is a wild one. Okay, so
It
we're
is a
looking
wild
at
one,
FanHOTS
isn't
Twitch chat from his 2023 recap stream,
Okay.
which just so happens to be the same year that the song of the Sidestep King dropped.
Right.
Right.
And
Yeah.
let me tell you, this chat moves fast.
Oh yeah, Twitch chat is something else.
It really is.
You've got that constant stream of emotes, people making jokes, telling the streamer how to play the game.
It's a lot to take in.
It's like this raw, unfiltered look at how a community experiences something live.
It really is like trying to drink from a fire hose of emojis and slang
Right.
and everything.
The
We've got
chat is
pod
fire
chants
hose.
flying by. We've got pep laugh echoing through the chat.
Oh yeah.
It's pure digital energy.
And for those who might not know, those emotes are key to understanding what's going on.
Right.
Like if you see PogChamp, that means something big just happened. Everybody's hyped, the energy's through the roof.
Yeah.
And then you've got Pepala. Yeah. That's our cue to laugh together, you know?
Right.
Maybe with a little bit of irony, or
You got
maybe
Peppa
we're
what?
laughing at something that went wrong.
Did
It
she
just
just say
depends.
And
Peppa?
then there's Sidestep,
Yes.
which at this point it's less of a gaming term and more like FanHOT's middle name in this chat.
Yeah,
That's
seriously, though.
so
It's a
true.
perfect
Wait,
example of how
they're
a
onto
player's
me.
signature
They
move
know.
Can become something more than just part of the game.
This is my middle
Heroes of
name.
The Storm, the sidestep, is this move, this really precise technique. And FanHOTS, he's known for doing it perfectly every single time.
Yeah,
How
with
do they
expert
know?
timing.
How do they know what a
Exactly.
sidestep
He's
is?
got this sixth sense.
Yeah.
And it represents his skill, you know, his brand, how he's always one step ahead of everyone else.
He's out maneuvering people. He's outsmarting them.
Yeah.
And you see that in the chat.
Oh, yeah.
All people are calling him the Sidestep King. They're making memes.
All
They're
true.
remixing his AI song.
That's great.
It
I'm
shows
so
you
good.
how powerful it is to have that one thing you're known for.
Totally. Whether you're online or offline, having that defining characteristic, that skill that makes you stand out.
Right, and it makes you think, like, what's my sidestep? You know?
I know, right? What is it that makes you memorable, that makes you engaging?
Yeah, what makes you unique?
Exactly. And I think what's even more important is how do you use that to connect with people?
Macronova.
How do you build a
Online.
community? How do you make your mark? I mean, look at FanHOTS. His achievements, his creativity, that passionate community he's built.
It's inspiring.
It really is. It's like a masterclass in how to find your own path and do something you're proud of.
Totally. So, as we come up for air after this